Hey, what's up guys? John here. Dave Portnoy and many celebrities right now are speaking out against what's going on in New York City with this pizzeria ban. But this is only just the tip of the iceberg. And what is going to happen over the next 6 months is going to blow your mind. But I've been talking about this coming on this channel for a very, very long time, but now people are starting to wake up. In fact, I put a video out talking about all of these new regulations, all of these new property standards, all these new retrofits, everything about clean energy, everything's about cutting emissions going forward. And I spoke about this, we're talking 2 years ago. 2 years ago I was breaking this down. I was breaking it down with the laws. It says 1 year ago, but you click on it and it shows you the date, July 21st, 2021, basically 2 years ago, right? So what is happening is absolutely unbelievable. And it's not just going to be New York City. It's not going to just be California. I'm near Miami, for example, and just maybe 3 weeks ago, I was on miamidade.gov, and I'm looking at their sponsors around real estate and these retrofits. And one of the sponsors was a company called SELF, Solar Energy Loan Fund. I called them and I say, hey, I want to have somebody from SELF on my podcast, and I want to talk about these retrofits. And they're like, okay, we'll try to get you somebody. They didn't call me back. I called them again. Then they transferred me to someone, and then I got somebody. And they're like, yeah, okay, we'll come on the podcast. They came into my studio, and I'm like, tell me about how this actually works. What is the game plan? And I'm going to drop this on this channel probably next Friday. But she told me that what they do is they get loans from the U.S. government between 0 and 1%. 0 and 1%, basically free money. And they lend it out to the general public between 5 and 6%, and they make the spread. And what happens next is that these are going to be mandatory. These property upgrades will be mandatory. So you look at what's happening in New York City. I'm going to break it down for you. So you'll see exactly kind of how this plays out, because this is pretty crazy. Please hit the like button. When you hit the like button, YouTube will share this content to educate more people about what's really going on. And on this channel, I talk about personal finance, real estate, business, and money. And this isn't like a topic that I'm happy about. Like obviously, I would prefer that people didn't have to do all these retrofits and didn't have to step into all this, but I want to remove emotion from finance so we can make smart and educated decisions based on the reality of what's going on in this ever-changing world. So take a look at this. So New York City, and also today's video is sponsored by GreatCreditFast.com. If you want to fix your credit, we would love to help you at GreatCreditFast.com. Look at this. New York City department rules could cost pizzerias a lot of dough, right? You're talking $20,000 to $30,000. $20,000 to $30,000 for this new cap that will be on their stoves that will reduce their emissions, and many pizzerias say that it's going to change the taste of their pizza. And so a lot of these pizzerias do not want to do these upgrades, but they're going to start to have to, right? They're going to have to probably do these upgrades, unfortunately. And it's not just pizzerias. Like these building owners, some of these fines get hit $1 million a year. Like that's absolutely nuts, $80,000 a month for some of these fines. And here's what they have to do to kind of bring up their properties to standard. Because every year going forward on January 1st, 2024, and then every calendar year, they have to do more upgrades, right? They have to do more and more and more upgrades. So the big question that I've always had is that knowing this, why would you want to buy real estate, multifamily real estate in New York City? Right, you're going to buy what, a 4 cap or a 5 cap, a building that barely produces revenue. You're going to have the city that's going to be coming after you, not allowing you to evict tenant in the event of a failure to pay rent. You're not partnering up with the city to provide housing. You're buying property and the city is looking at you as a competitor, as the problem, right? Look at what's happening. These are the upgrades. It's pretty crazy. So tough but doable. An additional 1/4 multifamily buildings face stiffer challenges, reducing their carbon emissions by 20% to 40%. These buildings will need to take more ambitious retrofits. So you're talking maybe install roof insulation, switch to an electric domestic hot water system, electrifying hot water production, right? It's a great way for buildings to tap into clean energy to meet the clean energy grid in 2030. But look at these other ones. So this here, they say that they will have to completing an exterior envelope. So the envelope of your building, imagine your house, all the stucco, everything around your building, the envelope. They have to do an analysis using thermal energy demand intensity, TED, or other energy analysis tools. The analysis considers construction of the exterior walls, windows, roof, insulation, type of cladding materials, thermal bridges, exposed slab edges, balconies, water tables, and can help provide options to improve exterior envelopes and reduce the demand for heating and cooling. So, I mean, if you're gonna go through all these changes, then you know they're gonna be coming every single year. Wouldn't it make sense just to bring it up to standard to where it's ultimately going to go in 15 or 20 years, right? It would make more sense to do that. But the big question is, what would be the cost to do it? And would these old 100, 120-year-old buildings in New York City be able to be demolished and rebuilt the same? Probably not, right? So it's just going to be an extreme burden to be able to bring these properties up to code to a level which I think a lot of people are not realizing or comprehending just yet. But look at this, California, it says residential and commercial buildings are responsible for roughly 25% of California's greenhouse gas, right? When accounting for fossil fuels consumed on-site and electricity demand, refrigerants used to spare cooling and refrigeration systems also contribute directly to building-related GHG emissions. California must reduce statewide GHG emissions to 40% below 1990 levels by 2030. Senate Bill 32, California's 2022 scoping plan outlines a roadmap for California to achieve carbon neutrality by 2045 or earlier. An assessment of the potential for buildings to meet this target is underway. So follow the clues. New York City, it's happening in California, it's happening in Miami, and look at New York, right? New York, they put this article out. Ithaca, New York becomes first U.S. city to begin 100% decarbonization of buildings, an urban climate milestone. Now, I'm not saying this to concern anyone, but what I'm simply saying is I think people, if they're investing in real estate, if they want to invest, should have all the information going forward and make smart and well-informed decisions based on what the future is actually going to look like, right? You want to buy a building knowing that you're not going to get hit with a huge curveball in a year, 2 years, 3 years. So pay attention and connect these dots because it's going to be happening in every city in America, I promise you. I'm going to show you something in a second. It'll prove to you. Local governments are in a good place to tackle the building issue because many existing policy structures giving them a majority to regulate buildings. A big reason why cities have really emerged as leaders on decarbonization, particularly with buildings, is traditionally land use development has been more of the realm of state and local governments. They set the building codes and they have the levers, said Elizabeth Beardsley, Senior Policy Counsel, the U.S. Green Building Council. The cities are feeling local impacts from climate too, and it's becoming more tangible and motivating. They are feeling the impacts and they know they have those levers to use. So again, what are they saying, right? Biden, May 5th, 2023. Yesterday, the White House convened 24 governors' office to discuss how the Biden-Harris administration can amplify states' efforts to lead on commercial and residential building decarbonization policies that lower energy bills to improve climate resilience and reduce emissions. In attendance were, and they kind of break it down. Additionally, the Institute for Market Transformation highlighted there's 2.1 million energy efficiency jobs, saying this is going to be great for jobs and great for the environment. This is going to be what's going to happen, right? This is going to look, what's also very fascinating is what happened the last 3 years, right? Everyone was refinancing their buildings. Everybody. You had multifamily commercial properties that went sky high in valuations due to these very, very low interest rates. People are looking at it like, hey, why not borrow as much money as possible at 3% when inflation's 8, 9, 10%, people would argue. Right? So people are borrowing money. They're like, hey, it's free money. And they were buying other buildings, putting themselves in a very leveraged situation. And now when you have a situation like what we're stepping into now, where these building owners are going to need a lot of liquidity to meet these new upgrades, people are going to be in big trouble. So, I always said, money's never lost, it's simply transferred. And we're stepping into a massive, massive wealth transfer from smart and savvy investors that, did extremely well based on the former way that things worked. But now things are going to be changing. In the next 5 years, we're going to see immense change. It's not going to be overnight. In New York City, they're mainly talking about decarbonizing the larger size buildings. But in Miami, in Los Angeles, in other areas, they're starting to push forward these objectives on other buildings. So this is eventually what's going to happen. Local governments are going to start working with the federal government to push forward these regulations. And this is what's going to happen. I think it's going to impact property insurance. I think it's going to impact a lot of different aspects of real estate going forward. But what do you think? Where do you see this all going? Do you think it's going to stop at pizzerias? Do you think that all they care about is capping emissions in pizzerias? I don't think so, especially when you look at Local Law 97 and you start to connect these dots. $1 million per year for the worst polluters. I mean, they calculate it based, they have someone come out and calculate your emissions, and they tell you what you owe. And if you don't pay it, then the city puts a lien on your building, right? This is the world we're living in. What do you think about it? Drop it below. Hit the like button. When you hit the like button, YouTube will share this content to educate more people about what's really going on. And again, today's video is sponsored by Great Credit Fast, my credit repair company, greatcreditfast.com. We would love to help you. Go there, schedule a free call, and I'll talk to you soon. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.